phase, the design phase. During the design phase, curriculum developers design assessments, choose a course format, and create an instructional strategy. It may seem counterintuitive to design the assessment of a course before you begin creating the content, but it is actually very helpful to know how you are going to test your learners' knowledge, attitude, and skills about your subject when you are creating your instructional materials. To design effective assessments, you are going to use a lot of what you learned during the previous ADDIE phase, the analysis phase. Dick, Carey, and Carey point out that there are 4 areas to consider when designing a good assessment question or task: the instruction's goals, learner, and context, as well as the assessment itself. It is very important to consider the goals of your instruction as you design your assessment. Let's say you are teaching a group of not-so-computer literate folks about how to use email. During the analysis phase, you would have created performance objectives, or what the students would do to demonstrate that they learned the content. Now, you can use these performance objectives to help you create effective assessments. If one of your performance objectives was for students to demonstrate how to open up a web browser and sign into a web-based email account, then you should make sure to test that knowledge at the end of the course. As you write out this question or task, remember to keep in mind what you learned about your learners during the analysis phase. In our example, your learners aren't very computer literate, so you should avoid using unnecessarily obscure or complicated terms in your assessment. Whenever possible, you should assess skills like this in a context as close to the eventual performance setting as possible. Having them answer a multiple choice question about how to sign into an email account won't be nearly as effective as giving them a task to do so on a physical computer. And be sure to be thorough when you research your learner's performance context. Questions and tasks are written clearly, with correct punctuation and grammar. Also, avoid the temptation to trick learners by intentionally writing complicated or misleading questions. Once you know how your learners are going to be tested, then you can go about choosing a course format. The course format, also sometimes called the delivery system, is the medium by which the course content is presented to learners. Courses can be taught in a traditional classroom setting, by correspondence, as a telecourse, through a self-paced workbook, over the internet, or in a blended course that combines different methods. In our example, we know that your students are going to be tested using PC computers. It would be most effective then to choose a course format that would allow them to use PC computers when you teach them, like a computer lab. Now that you've designed your assessment and picked the course format, you can begin to create your instructional strategy. An instructional strategy is the collection of lectures, readings, discussions, projects, worksheets, assessments, and activities to help the students learn the course content. Dick, Carey, and Carey have outlined 5 major learning components that are part of an overall instructional strategy. They are the pre-instructional activities, the content presentation, learner participation, assessment, and follow-through activities. When planning your pre-instructional activities, first include a way to motivate your learners. In our example, you could talk to your students about how using email could benefit them, perhaps by helping them pay their bills more effectively or keeping in touch with relatives. Motivating your learners will help them see the value of your material and internalize the instruction. Then, plan a way to illustrate the course objectives. This will help them mentally organize the components of the instruction and know how they're going to apply their knowledge. There are a few things to keep in mind when planning your content presentation. First, make sure your content is concise and not filled with unnecessary detail. Just stick to the objectives of the class. It may sound fun to relay the history of email and how it got started, but it isn't going to help your students reach the objective of the class. And be sure to include examples. This could be as simple as walking students through the process of signing onto an email account on a digital projector. It is very important to plan plenty of learner participation in your instructional strategy. This means allowing your students to practice a task as well as providing them with feedback. In our example, you could let students try sending you a message on their own computers and then tell them what they did right or where they tripped up. You will then want to plan for assessment in your instructional strategy. In addition to the final assessment we talked about earlier, you may want to include practice assessments as well as a final attitude assessment, which asks your learners how they felt about the course. The final thing you want to include in your instructional strategy is a set of follow-through activities. This is a review of the entire course strategy with an eye toward helping students internalize and apply the instruction after the class is over. So that's the basic overview of the design phase of the ADDIE model. Designing assessments, choosing the right course format, and carefully putting together an instructional strategy will make developing your course content a lot more easy and effective.